I really want to add a sensor to the gray water tank in our campervan conversion so that I can keep an eye on when it's getting full. Now, I didn't run wires for a resistive float valve, so I'm just going to do it wirelessly, and I'll show you how you can do it too. Now, before we get started, the sensors that we're using are designed to be used with freshwater tanks and not gray water tanks, but I'm curious and I just want to try it out, and they're not that expensive anyway. So the disclaimer here is your mileage may vary, and this video can be used for freshwater tanks just as easily, and I'll update the pinned comment below for my actual experience as a gray water tank sensor once I get to use it for a bit. Now, let's get started. I'm going to be using this Mopeka Pro water tank sensor. It gets mounted to the bottom of the tank and uses ultrasonic waves to determine when the tank is full and empty. There's some pretty specific instructions included with the device for mounting it, but our super small tank makes it kind of tough to follow those exactly, so we're just doing the best we can, and instead of using their included snap ring like you probably should, I'm just going to scuff and clean the bottom of the tank. Put the included sonic grease on the little black pad on the sensor as per their instructions, and use some quick setting epoxy to hold it in place. Good enough for who it's for. Now, on to programming. First, we need to download the Mopeka Tank Check app and open it up. And hold the sync button on the sensor until it shows up on the phone. Now, this uses your phone's Bluetooth, so make sure that's turned on as well. Click on the sensor that just showed up in the app, and it's showing that our tank is low, which is true because it's both empty and upside down. Now, if you're wanting to just view your tank stats and get alarms just from the app, stay tuned. But if you don't really care about that and just want to be able to view this information on your Cerbo GX, skip ahead to this timestamp in the video. We can change our device name here, then change our tank height here. Now, this should not necessarily be the actual tank height, but more so how high above the sensor should the water be when you want the sensor to read 100% full, which in our case is about 11 inches before the tank is dangerously full. We want the sensor to take a reading every 3.5 seconds. And I'm going to turn the notifications off because since this tank is a gray water tank, I want the alarms when the tank gets nearly full versus nearly empty, which is currently not an option on this app. Now, let's fill up the tank and watch the app. And the tank is now full, the bubbles have stopped interfering with the signal, and the app seems to be working as expected. Now let's move on to syncing this sensor up to our Victron Cerbo GX. We're going to navigate to our settings menu, scroll down and click on I/O for inputs and outputs, and click on Bluetooth sensors. And if that's not there, you probably just need to update your Cerbo GX firmware. Toggle enable to on, and the sensor should show up down here in just a few seconds, and we can click to toggle it to active. Press back twice, scroll up and click display and language, and make sure that Show Tanks Overview is on for showing tank info on the main screen. Press back twice to access the device list and click on the fuel tank so we can program proper settings. Ignore everything on this page for now, just scroll down and click on Setup. I'm going to change my fluid type from fuel to wastewater, change my volume units to US gallons, and then I can notice that my sensor value is 27.2 centimeters when the tank is full. So I'm going to tap on sensor value when full and change that to the same value. And when we drain the tank, we can change the sensor value when empty to match whatever the sensor value at that time says, but it should be at or near 0. Lastly, I'll scroll up to capacity and change this to 7 gallons to match my tank size. Now I'll navigate to my main page, scroll over, and I can see that my sensor is matched up with my gauge. Now, I will say that there are some inconsistencies between the Cerbo GX and the Mopeka app, but I suspect the Cerbo GX is actually more accurate since we're telling the Cerbo GX what empty and full is based on the sensor readings as opposed to a tape measure reading. And since the Cerbo is reading 7% when the tank is actually empty, we're going to navigate back to the settings menu. Notice that the sensor value is 2.6, and then change the sensor value while empty to 2.6 to match. Now I know that the actual sensor is about an inch above the actual bottom of the tank, which will skew that empty number, but ultimately I don't really care if my gray water tank is at 5% versus 15%. I realistically just care about when it's almost full. Now at the time of filming this video, there are no options to have high level and low level tank alarms set through the Cerbo GX for these particular sensors. But I have brought it up to Victron, and if it's feasible, they're usually pretty quick to add that functionality in a simple firmware update, and I'll update the pinned comment or video description to let you know if that gets added. Now if you'd rather have a top mount wired sensor, I have a video about adding one of those as well, and I'll link to that, the Cerbo GX, and the Mopeka sensor shown in this video, all in the video description below. I hope this helps, and we'll see you next time.